Welcome to Unmute Yourself. I'm your host, Jennifer Carter, and I'm so glad you're here. This podcast is about lifting the curtain on leadership, purpose, and the real stories behind people who dared to do things differently. We'll talk about how they found their path, the struggles they faced, and how they built something that truly matters. Now, these are everyday people doing extraordinary things, and I want you to know you are capable of that too. For today's conversation, I am joined by Dr. Shmeka Gibson, an author, international speaker, business owner, professor, and one of the most insightful voices on what it truly means to build healthy organizations. With a PhD in industrial organizational psychology and more than 20 years of experience in nonprofit management and leadership, Dr. Gibson brings both data and heart to her work. She serves as the executive director of Changing the Mindset, an Austin-based organization providing workshops, coaching, and therapy that help youth and professionals navigate mental health, workplace bullying, and leadership development. She is also a powerhouse consultant, helping more than 80 businesses scale and over 30 nonprofits secure more than $84 million in funding. So, Dr. Gibson, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Jennifer. I'm happy to be here.
I was just thinking as I was reading your bio, like, how do I know such a brilliant human being? So, everything that you do is just so interesting. So, tell us a bit, like, how did you get started in this work?
Thank you. Yeah, when I did all of that, it's
Right.
a lot. It's
Yeah.
a lot of work. You don't realize when you are in the thick of doing everything how much impact you're actually making until someone reads your bio or recant something that they've seen you do or some things that you've been a part of. So I'm pretty proud of myself for a lot of the things that I've been able to accomplish. But I am originally from Memphis, Tennessee. I moved to Austin, Texas about 3 years ago. And I always tell people that my journey started when I was in college. I know most people have dreams and visions when they are a kiddo and they say, "Oh, I want to be a teacher. Oh, I want to be a doctor." I knew I always wanted to be a business owner. I knew I always wanted to be a consultant. What type of consultant, I didn't really know. But I think all of the things that I experienced through um, attending college, with school, the many different jobs that I've held, and also the many clients that I've worked with pretty much shaped who I am currently right now. So I left corporate America in 2018 and started my journey as a full-time entrepreneur. And everything was going good. We started with workforce development, helping individuals secure jobs through job readiness, success, assisting with resume writing, job preparation, and then COVID happened. So when COVID happened, things shifted very quickly for me. I wasn't prepared, like most business owners aren't. They aren't prepared for something like a pandemic to come and change the landscape of how they do business and also how it affects them financially. So, from that experience, I was able to learn how to navigate through difficult times with being a business owner. And my experience has always been fundraising, fund development, working in executive level, senior level positions within organizations. So I was able to do a pivot within my own business. So we went from SG consulting and data to changing the mindset. And changing the mindset was where we started to shift the way people thought about how they did business,
Mm.
moved from entrepreneurship to business ownership. The goal was economic stability and sustainability and growth. So we were able to help organizations apply for funding in different places outside of the cities and communities that they was familiar with, expand and diversify their budgets and their revenue. And I mean, we did exceptionally well in 2020. So I went from living in a two-bedroom apartment, having to move out to move in with my parents because I was concerned about my own personal financial situation to now doing exceptionally well here in Austin, Texas.
That's amazing. Like, how did you keep going even when, you know, you were worried about your financial situation? I know when you picked up and came to Austin, that's when I met you and right, like starting over. That must have been
Well,
scary.
I would say most people would say, because I'm a mother of two, so most people would say, "Oh, it's my kids." Besides my children, I was just always a resilient person. I just never believed in the the thought that I couldn't do. And that's kind of where a lot of the philosophy of changing the mindset come from is that you have to change the way you think to modify your behaviors. I always felt that no one was coming to save me. So I had to save myself. So I really put doubt to the back of my mind, literally, and was like,
Right.
"I have to live for today because if I don't figure out how to bring in income into my household, then me and my children are going to this be a different situation for us." So I didn't believe that I couldn't do it. I started to channel that energy into what I could do, and I turned my talents into revenue, and I just kept going from there.
And I know that you have built quite a successful company, at this point in your career. So, how did you bring others along to believe in the work that you do?
Man, I would say that my friend group, who are some powerful women as well, I would say my support circle, my friends who knew how to differentiate our relationship between being a homegirl to actually being someone that would hold me accountable. I have some amazing friends that believe, and also my daughters as well. My daughters are also two individuals that it's almost like watching me reincarnated. I have raised my daughters to be very assertive and also to not walk in fear. And then to also hold me accountable. So as a parent, I am one of those parents where I'm like, tell me that I'm messing up. Tell me I'm off my A game. Snap me back into shape. And my daughters do a really good job of saying, Mom, I don't think that that's the right thing to do, or I don't think that you should do that. And most parents will say, okay, well now you're out of line.
Right,
But
right.
I looked at it as an opportunity for growth. My relationships with my daughters are very important to me, but I also felt like that I am the first teacher, and what behavior I model is behavior that they're going to think is normal or okay. And I wanted to make sure that I instill some helpful and healthy behaviors and experiences for my daughters.
I appreciate that you utilize your world and the people in your world as a reflection of you and what you're building and creating so you can see what you're giving out and how it comes back. That's
Right.
what I've gotten from what you've said, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's very true. And I would say even because we talk about the consulting work that I do, with changing the mindset, but, we also have the mental health piece, which was another one of the reasons why I felt so confident in stepping out on my own, is because I didn't know at the time, but workplace mental health was very important. I was diagnosed with high blood pressure as a 27-year-old woman.
Mm-mm.
Not that's not normal, that's not healthy, so I had to start reevaluating how I take care of myself and how I show up, and that is something that I encourage through the work we do with changing the mindset, is that not only should your organization be successful and sustainable, but are we encouraging workplace mental health and, workplace, safe and toxic-free working environments for individuals to thrive and be successful in.
My gosh. I could talk about toxic workplaces all day long, and you have no idea how much I've been looking forward to this conversation. So, most of the women that I know, most of the women that I work with, they have experienced or are currently experiencing a toxic workplace. So I know that you've studied this. This is your degree, this is your work, your day in and your day out. What are some early signs that a workplace might be toxic?
Oh, some early signs. I would say most people do not pay attention during the interview process. Some organizations have the mindset, and they don't know. Like we talk about, my background is in psychology. We talk about the unconscious part of the mind, where people are not aware of their behaviors and their thoughts, and sometimes they are suppressing what they're feeling in that moment. Some organizations have an elitist mindset, where it's like, you need us, we don't need you.
Mm,
And you can pick that up pretty early on when you are going through the interview and hiring process. I often tell organizations that I work with that these employees are interviewing you as well, or at least they should be. because what you present to me during the initial process of interviewing, calling for to schedule an interview, and how you treat me during interview process or the onboarding process will let me know what type of organization I'm going to be a part of. So I would say that would be the very first warning sign. Like, how long is it taking them to respond to applicants when they apply? What is the communication after an interview? I've been seeing lately that some organizations don't even call employees back and say, thank you for your time, but we're going to go with someone else. A lot of times that leads to not only just toxic working environments, but toxic workplace stress, right?
Mm,
Because and trauma, let's not forget workplace trauma, right?
place trauma.
All of
Here we
those
go.
things happen, but that's an early sign how the organization treat you as an individual. Organizations do not know that the way you treat a potential candidate can also affect you on the marketing side. Because if a potential employee has a bad experience during the hiring process, you don't know who that person is or who that person knows or what organization they may work for if they decide not to work for you. So if that person has a bad experience, then we know what happens when people have bad experience. They tell
Right.
other people about bad
Right.
experiences that they have had. So organizations don't consider that even in that with that frame of mind as well, is that okay, this could be someone that could be a benefit or a hindrance to us a year or two later. Another initial thing is lack of policies and procedures, lack of structure. Most organizations don't do an onboarding orientation process, hiring process where new employees are not exposed to how the organization operates. Some employees, day one, they're handed their responsibilities and they say, oh, well, you said that you could be assertive during the interview, you make it happen. Those things are toxic. They're toxic. Gossiping, workplace gossiping,
Gossiping.
and happening during an interview where, employees of the organization is talking about the manager that the candidate is going to be working for. All of those are toxic.
Now, tell me, okay, so you go into organizations and what do you do? Like, you get a call from who, and you go into organizations and do what in relation to
Oh
workplace
my
mental
goodness,
health and
this is a
toxic work environment?
layered
I
question,
know,
Jennifer.
I know.
So it happens in multiple ways because our organization provide three types of services on the workplace development side. Changing the mindset only does workplace mental health. If we notice that an individual that we are working with needs additional services like trauma, domestic violence, or some other type of mental health support, we refer them out. So if a client can reach out to us or a working professional, I would say that. So anyone that has a job, even a 15-year-old, because we have some 15-year-olds that work in fast food that are just going through it. You can be that young. A working individual can contact us for individual coaching, or we have a social worker and a LPC that we work with that we can refer out for more intense type of support. So an individual can contact us for support. An organization can contact us in multiple ways. If a organization is interested in us doing creating a toxic-free working environment or a toxic-free workplace culture, we can go in and do an assessment with the organization, do interviews with the staff, and we kind of work collaboratively with the HR department on this to build those relationships with the staff, collect the data, make the necessary connections with the organization. We complete reports, and then we share that information out to the executives of the organization to share with their board of directors. Now, the board of directors can contact me as well and have me go in and do IO consulting work, where I work with the executive team only to do the work in a reverse effort. In many cases, if the board is contacting me, it's because the staff are reporting some challenges with the CEO or the president of the executive director of the organization. And then I can go in and do some individual coaching with the leader of the organization, provide them with the technique and skills that they need to help them be successful in their role. Because we do know that sometimes it's lonely at the top,
Right.
and executive leaders don't always have the support that they need either.
Right. That's very true, and I think too, leaders, they may not know what their actual impact is. right? Because nobody's telling them because they're scared or,
Or it could be
um
their first time. We
yeah,
have a lot of first time CEOs of companies, and in many cases they inherit the position because maybe the leader before them may have left. They had no intention on being the leader, but they was next up. Maybe they were COO or the
right.
CDO. So they wasn't prepared, and in many cases they don't receive the professional development that they need to help them be successful in the.
Yeah. So how can a person know that they have a toxic culture versus just having a bad boss?
So it's all about behaviors. And I always tell people you have to pay attention to the behaviors. We hear a lot of buzzwords and we apply buzzwords to people, but I always tell organizations and clients that we work with, what are the behaviors? So if someone calls me and say, "Hey, I'm being mistreated in the workplace." My question is, well, what are the behaviors? Who is mistreating you? And then tell me what behaviors are being presented. And then I want to know what are the behaviors of everyone that is around that individual. That's how we're able to differentiate if this is an individual problem or if this is an organization problem, right? Because if everyone is
Got
behaving
it.
a certain way, then that's the culture. Or it's just normal in that department, is acceptable in that department. But if this is just a one-off situation where me and Jennifer is having some problems, then I can address it differently. If it's an individual, we will work with that individual to try to help them learn how to manage their mental health in the workplace. Sometimes we may not be able to change your manager, but we can help you learn how to navigate through those difficult environments.
I can imagine being around this type of work all the time, Shmeka. Like, how do you yourself protect your mental and emotional health? Because I'm sure you hear so many stories. Yeah.
I've been in the counseling field for so long. I would say the first thing I have to do is know my limits and know my boundaries. Within changing the mindset, our goal is to have a toxic free working environment, right? Like we have to be toxic free. Majority of the time we work from home. We don't have a physical office, a physical location. Me and my team work from home, or we work in an environment where it's comfortable for us. Also, we don't have standard work hours, work based off of the time that is comfortable for you. Where in my case, and many times I'm working a traditional 9 to 5 because I may be out teaching or training, or most of my clients are working 9 to 5. But the rest of my team is up to you. If you feel that you want to go work in a park from 12 to 2 and
Mm.
that's all you have the capacity to give for that day, that's totally fine. We try to create an environment that we encourage to the organizations that we work with. Now, we're not asking them to change the core essence of the things that they do and how they establish as an organization, but we want them to be able to create an environment where people can show up and perform their best and produce the best outcomes for the individuals that you are serving, whether it's a for profit or nonprofit business. So I try to make sure that I prioritize that within the organization. As far as what I do outside of work, I'm gonna tell you something. Every Friday is a me day. I
I
do
love this.
oysters every Friday. So
You do what every Friday?
every Friday, oysters and martini.
Oysters.
Oysters and martini. That's my thing. After a long working day, I look forward to going to have my seafood. And there's some months where I'm a little iffy about oysters. It's either a lobster roll, and I go and I splurge, Jennifer. I do.
I
I
love this.
seafood and I go and get me a couple of lemon drop martinis,
Oh my
and I
god.
don't think twice about how much it costs, and that's my moment. And then I also partake in I like to go to the gun range and get a massage. So that's how
Wait,
I
okay.
let off a little steam.
So we've got oysters, martinis, gun range, and massages.
Yes.
I love all of this.
Working hours
And locations.
and locations,
Location.
absolutely.
That's awesome. So what if you have someone who you comes to you and they're like, "Oh my gosh, Dr. Gibson, I'm really stressed out. My mental emotional health is going down the tubes quickly at work." What are some of the first steps that they can take? to reclaim their peace.
Clinician. I try to be very careful with how I engage with that person. I try to ask the type of screening questions that we ask within the organization to determine how I need to triage this individual, right? Because if it's someone that's telling me that they're dealing with something like sexual abuse in the workplace, or if they're dealing with a situation where they think that theft is happening in the workplace, then I need to refer them to someone else. But if it's just mental health, I always say, well, how are you prioritizing yourself? Because the job is going to always be there. I always encourage staff to take a lunch break. I always encourage staff to find something to do to stimulate yourself while you're working in an environment. Step away from your desk, rest your eyes, maybe take a walk. Um, and then also set some boundaries. If the work hours are from 9 to 5, I know some jobs say work until the job is done. Figure out what works best for you for your peace and sanity. Some people will go and work all day 9 to 5 and still go home and work from 5 to 9.
Right.
So, what is important to you? If you have to take work home after work, set a time limit. Okay, I'm only going to work until 7, and then the rest of this time is going to be spent for family or friends or, me taking a bubble bath. And then I would say have a dedicated day. Like I do my Fridays are my dedicated day. Everyone knows my Fridays, that's my thing. But then also, Jennifer, believe it or not, I'm in the bed every night at 10:30. That's a
That's
non-negotiable
rest.
for me. I am in the bed at 10:30. I don't even have to turn my phone on do not disturb because people know that she's going to be in the bed.
Yeah, you take care of
Not to
yourself.
bother her unless
You
it's
put
a,
yourself first.
life or death situation.
For sure, right. Do you ever have to ask for help?
That is so hard for me.
Yeah,
That is
tell
so
me.
hard for me. As a high achieving woman,
Right. You don't need any help.
yeah, you know what? And I would say I don't because I'm normally the one that everyone has to come to for help. And that makes it really tough. It makes
Right,
it really tough um when it appears that you have it all together and no
right,
one thinks you need help. I rarely get a phone call that says, hey, how are you? Do you need anything?
right.
Normally, I'm the one that's calling and checking in and making sure everyone is okay. Or when someone calls me, I'm like, yes, I can do it. I make time for it. So no, I don't ask for a lot of help because it's a mind thing too. So maybe I need to change my mindset, but it's a mind
Yeah.
thing too. Because I look at it as if I'm giving you help, how can you help? So I have
Huh?
to think of ways of how people can show up for me. But yeah, that's one of the things I need to work on is asking for help.
And a lot of our listeners are those high achieving women that have it all together, that don't ask for help, that they're the one fixing things for everyone else. Okay, here's another question then. How do you recognize when your high achieving clients need help?
It's the behaviors. They don't show up the best way. They're late for meetings. Like if we have a meeting, I'm on time for meetings, but they may be late. Or they don't respond to calls and text messages like they would normally. I have to figure out when it's the best time to connect with them. And most of my clients do a really good job of telling me that they're overwhelmed. They will say, I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed, I'm tired, I need help. And once they start to get really comfortable and start venting,
Right.
that's how oh, okay, so this is where this conversation is going. But I allow that space. I allow that space because again, I know what it feels like to be in that position to where you feel like you have no one that you can talk to.
Right.
And after a while, it does build up and it does affect you physically, mentally, emotionally. Um, and it affects the relationships in your personal life. So I try to be that support person for those individuals within reason, because I still have to maintain some boundaries with them. But for the most part, I allow them that space because I know they need it.
Yeah, I like that. I like that you said the word overwhelm. I hear that word a lot. I just feel so overwhelmed and the kids and the
Overstimulated. Mm,
overstimulated. Yes.
overstimulated. Like, oh my gosh, do not ever say overstimulated again.
And like what? So then it's like sometimes I think people just need someone else to word vomit to, listen to, and help setting those boundaries. So I do wonder, so what do you see that healthy workplaces do differently on the daily? Like, so you're seeing these healthy workplaces where people have that psychological safety, they're as excited as they can be to go to work, right? Every day. What are they doing? What are they doing right?
Say some things that I've noticed with organizations that have a healthy environment is that they offer mental health days and they don't ask questions. I've seen so many organizations that if a staff is afraid to take off for a doctor's appointment because they feel like they have to go and provide a dissertation on why they need the time off. Um, the most important thing is when a staff feels safe and secure in the working environment where they can go and have a conversation with their boss and their boss is not giving them a hard time about needing to leave early to pick their kids up from school or if they need to take a day off for a doctor's appointment or if they just need a day off.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that, you know, it should be jumping through fire hoops just to take some time off to recollect yourself. Again, we're trying to create healthy environments so the working people can perform um, and show up the best way they
Right.
can. And if the organization doesn't allow for that, then you're not going to have productive employees in the workplace. You're going to have a lot of unhappy people. So that's the first thing, making sure that your staff has um, the autonomy and the capacity to take off when they need to take off. And I would say the working environment is important too. Bright colors. Do you have spaces in the working environment where people can work that doesn't seem like they're in a cubicle for 8 hours?
Cube
But do you
farm.
have open spaces where maybe there's like different types of seating? The last organization that I worked for full time, they revitalized the working space. Like we had beanbag chairs, we had colorful seating, open spaces. They just made it welcoming for employees to come to work. So I didn't have to sit at my desk all day. I could go out and, work in the middle hall area.
Yeah,
Also,
all
jobs
people
that
work differently.
offer social hours after work. I worked for a company before where they had happy hour after work, where they closed business at 5, and then they had like a cafeteria area, and they had like a taco bar, beer bar set up for staff. So just doing things to where staff feels appreciated.
Got it. So on the other side, when you first walk into an organization, what are the first 3 things that you assess to start analyzing if it's toxic?
So the first three things I says, one is the environment. I can walk into an organization and it can be very gloomy. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I see, see how people are
Draining your soul. Yes, yes.
so like you hear thunderstorms and you're like, so yeah, I mean, I look at the environment. That's the first thing. The second thing is who's working the front desk. Again, that is going to let me know what type of culture. That first person that either if it's the guy that is mopping the floors in the lobby area or the front desk receptionist, they are going to let me know what type personalities I should be expecting or what type of engagement happens when you interface with external individuals as they come into your building. So that's the second thing I look for. And the third thing is how long they make me wait.
What's interesting.
How long they make me wait, which lets me know if they value time or if they're considerate of other people's timing.
It's
So when
the
I hear
little
staffs,
things.
and the thing is that people don't realize that because staff will say that, like, there's no concept of time here. Everyone kind of do things all lackluster. Or you'll hear some staff say that they really, if they say the meeting is going to start at 7 o'clock, it's going to start at 7 o'clock and it's going to end at 8 o'clock. Staff will say those things. They will, and you will pick those up. You will be like, I remember.
You have created such an important business for the community. It's don't think a day goes by where I don't talk to somebody who's had some type of toxic workplace issue. And I love that your resilience and determination, it seems like you just see the path forward and go. Period. End of story, no matter what.
I have to.
Right, there's no other choice. So, I could talk to you seriously all day long, but let's go ahead and close. I have a few quick fire questions for you. So just answer with the first thing that comes to mind, okay? What is one lesson that you've learned that you wish everyone knew?
Time waits for no one. If your body says don't do it now, don't do it. Trust your instinct.
If you could go back and tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
Mm, there's so many nice looking guys. You don't have to just focus on this one. There's so many.
I think I think that's the best
Try to
answer
tell
I've
me
ever
because
had. Good. So good. It's so good. And in one sentence, what does leadership mean to you today?
guess patience. Patience, and sometimes they forget that you was once in their shoes.
And what's the boldest choice you've made that's paid off?
Moving to Austin, Texas.
Moving to Austin, Texas. Here we are. Yay. And finally, what's the next big dream you're chasing?
Man, I want to go back to school.
What are you going to go to school for?
So my passion is neuroscience. I am once my baby girl graduates from high school in 2 years, I am preparing myself to go back to school for neuropsychology.
Love it.
Yeah,
I
that's
love it.
the plan.
You love to learn, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, why
Yeah.
not?
Right. Right. Oh my gosh, this has been such a great conversation, so powerful.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and your wisdom. But before we wrap, I do like to ask a couple of final questions. Okay. If listeners walk away remembering just one thing from this conversation, what do you hope it is?
Mental health is important. It doesn't matter if it's your personal mental health or your professional mental health, but prioritize yourself and your mental health is important.
And on a more personal note, what has it meant for you to share your story here on Unmute Yourself today?
I mean, I'm just about connecting. If I can share something with someone that changes their life or shift their mindset, then I've achieved my goal. So I'm
That's
just
great.
just hoping that that's what I've been able to accomplish today.
Well, I'm sure. So, how can listeners connect with you and support you?
Awesome. So Shmeka Gibson on LinkedIn, on Facebook is backwards Gibson Shmeka.
Hmm. Hmm.
IG is Mindset Shift with Dr. Gibbs, but you can go to our website, www.changingthemindset.org. And starting in January, we will start back hosting our workplace mental health Wednesdays, where it's like a group session, virtual group session, where working professionals can come together and have an outlet and have some conversations about workplace mental
I love it. And that information will be on your website, I take it.
health. Yes.
Great.
It's free.
Well, what's for and it's free. Better yet. Well, thank you again, Dr. Gibson, for joining me. Yes, and thank you for everyone listening and showing up, reflecting, and unmuting yourself in your own way. If today's conversation inspired you, please share this episode, subscribe, follow, and stay tuned for more stories of leaders creating work that truly fits and matters. And until next time, unmute yourself and step into the story only you can tell.